Welcome everybody. We are back with the next innovation pitches of the category, now I lost my cue, of the category Smart Settlement and Urbanization, with the wonderful Fadwa Murad as a moderator. She is the director of the ICT Incubator of Syria and our WSA expert. I'm going to call her on stage right now and give the word to you. Hello, Fadwa.
Hello, Masu. Thank you very much for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Happy to join you in this session for 1 hour to run through all the projects or winners actually for WSA 2020 and the group of Smart Settlement and Urbanization. And to keep time fully for our winners, let's start directly with Stephanie from Fluidtime, coming from Austria to know more about her project. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hello, thank you for the invitation. I will open my
presentation is ready.
I'm on the way. Yes.
Yeah.
You should see it in a few seconds.
So the floor is yours, Stephanie. Ready?
Okay, I see it.
Okay, Stephanie, you have 3 minutes. Please start.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Stephanie, and this is me. I'm trying for the last time with my book. Yeah. Okay. So what should I do now? Okay.
The countdown is not running now, so this is the typical setup time that we have calculated anyway.
That's perfect. So it tries to open, can just start immediately if you don't see it again. So I see it. Do you see it as well?
I see it.
I do. Is that a problem? Because we see it. Okay.
I just don't know what I can do now.
So technician is working in the background to make this wonderful Fluidtime presentation visible to the audience, and not only to the elite group of jurors that we have backstage already enjoying this beautiful presentation.
It is, but at least you see my logo already, so you can Google it, you can take a look at it already. So.
Be happy to listen to you also. Yalla, soon inshallah.
Should we maybe continue with another project, start with that and try to send you the slides? Yeah. I'll try that. Yes.
Shall we wait or move to
no, Fadwa, you move to the next project.
Okay, so now, Rombit, are you ready, Evert?
Yes, I am. I'm going to try to share the screen over here.
Okay, hi. Hi.
Hope it works. Hello, everybody.
So we are moving to Evert from Belgium and listening with him to the project Rombit to know more about. Evert, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Are you able to see my screen?
For me, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, great. My name is Evert from Rombit, and we developed a project, a solution called Romware, in order to save lives and cut enterprise costs. We developed a plug-and-play wearable device, which I'm wearing here right now, for industrial environments. And this is the environment I'm talking about. Industry, construction, manufacturing, logistics, they all share the same safety concerns. And in fact, you would say that these safety figures in the developing world are getting better, but on the contrary, we see 1,000 casualties each year in these specific verticals and over 300,000 serious accidents. Worker safety isn't getting better at all. In fact, insurance and compensation loss today is a almost $30 billion market. And over the past 5 years, we have seen a 25% increase in the amount of accidents and the amount of claims there. The top risks over there on the right-hand side, this is really important, are man-machine collisions, which is basically a metaphor for people getting run over by forklifts, and lone worker accidents. So service technicians alone at night, not being able to help them. That is why we have developed this wearable device, Romware, a safety wearable. We warn people from basically getting run over. There's two-way proximity detection between, for instance, a driver of a forklift and an operator in the warehouse. This same technology, proximity detection, can be used between two people for social distancing, for instance. We are a very valid COVID solution. And because of the fact that there is a small SIM card inside the device, we can immediately push data to our platform. This means that we can do contact tracing and signal who came into contact with whom, for instance, to keep your company open. Lone worker support, I've touched upon this, is really important for us as well. We do fall detection, shock detection, no motion detection, and alert personnel or emergency personnel whenever necessary. We also support evacuation scenarios for real-time worker localization, and we can see who is still in the danger zones and needs to be helped. You might have come across our solution in news outlets all over the world the past couple of months. We have been fortunate enough to be really featured through because of our COVID solution, but all of our other solutions are on the rise as well. 9 months after the launch, we have thousands of devices in the field with thousands of others to come. Now, why are we successful? And this is our last slide. We are plug and play. You don't need any kind of installation. We have just one device that can do 10 use cases if you want, 10 pains to solve. We partner up with insurance companies all across the globe to provide them safety data in order to keep the premiums, the enterprise premiums down. And last but certainly not least, we value worker privacy. We are fully GDPR compliant, and we know.
Time is up, unfortunately.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evert, for this nice presentation. Safety is important for everybody nowadays, and thank you again for being committed to the time. Our juries, any questions?
Odetta.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for such a great presentation. So, are your main clients insurance companies or the manufacturing facilities and places like that? And what is your biggest challenge when you're talking to your main customer?
A good question. So typically insurance companies are our partners. They share the same concerns. They are basically losing a lot of money with all those accidents. So they are looking for innovative technology to help increase that safety level. Our customers are individual manufacturing, construction, logistics companies. But at the end of the day, because of our partnership with, for instance, insurance companies, we can keep the cost of this solution down to a minimum or even at zero cost, because the lower price of a premium or of an insurance premium will be compensated by the acquisition price of this wearable device.
Connor, we have a question from Connor also, please.
Yes, have you taken baseline measurements of accident incidence rates at standard warehouses or workplaces, and then compared that against the rate of incidence with your tool? This is impact measurement question disguised as incident rate question. Do you see measurement improvements in incident rates?
Yeah, first of all, we've been active for just 9 months right now. So typically you will need a lot of data, but I can answer your question. What we see today is you have casualties, you have serious accidents, you have lighter accidents, and then you have near misses. You can act upon those near misses. We see 2 weeks after implementation, we have already a significant decrease of these near misses. That means almost incidents. This will significantly reduce also the risk of actually having an incident or a casualty. So yes, we have baseline measurements, and yes, we see that after a couple of weeks of implementing these tools, we see already significant improvement.
Thank you, Yvette. Any questions? Any more questions? So thank you for Rombit, thank you for Yvette, and wish you all the best, and congratulations again for being one of the WSA 2020 winners. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Best of luck to all.
Thank you, Yvette. Same to you. Bye-bye. Next, we will move to Citysense. Antonio, are you ready, Antonio?
Hello to everyone. Yes, I'm ready. Can you see my screen?
Hi, Antonio. Yes, please, but make it full screen, please. Antonio is coming from Chile and will share with us his experience about Citysense. Antonio, the floor is yours, Antonio.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Antonio Garcia. I am the founder of Citysense, and I'm from here. This is Chile. Maybe you don't know this, but this is Santiago, and one of the most polluted cities in the world, especially during winter time. And this is a reminder of why we do what we do. But cities don't have only this kind of problem of air pollution. We have flooding problems, we have transportation problems. And if you see everywhere, they are fighting against these different problems that many times these problems are shared between different cities. But every city has its own agenda. There is no collaboration between different cities trying to solve the same problems. So we ask ourselves, where are the so famous smart cities that they are promising for the past maybe 15 years? So what we are trying to do is to open cities so anyone from anywhere can be part of the solutions, but mostly that they can share those solutions to other cities around the world. In order to do that, we had to understand that every tech revolution in history needed a critical mass of infrastructure. But in the case of smart cities, every city is doing their own thing. So you will have like very specific projects that are only applicable for that specific city because of the infrastructure that that city has, or because of the efforts that those local governments and local stakeholders did. And the other problem is the lack of open data and IoT communications available for everyone. So that's what we are trying to do. We are creating a critical mass of infrastructure to help cities to develop and to create smart city solutions. And we are doing it by deploying a huge network of urban satellites. We developed this little box that can provide IoT communication protocols and also data capturing from the city, so anyone can use that data as a service or that communication services as a service to deploy their own solutions. So we are deploying and operating this massive network of urban satellites. And each satellite, mainly what they do is they have low energy IoT communication systems. They have edge computing capabilities, and they can measure environmental data. We are designing this with a Danish company called Kilo Design, and we are trying to do it like a urban intervention, not just a piece of technology. So what we are doing is we are creating our own solutions to then open the platform to anyone. We have already proven that with solutions like AirMob, that is like an air pollution waste. We have a collaborative app for tracking stolen cars and bicycles. We have another solution that is for asset trackings in more industrial environments. So we are scaling using companies that have a huge footprint in cities that allows us to then grow in more cities, and in the future to Citysense, like mobile sensors like this one, or even in your home, to help also in more homely smart city solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio, for the interesting presentation. Actually, always communicating or communication technology is very important to find different solutions. Let us see what type of questions we will have from our juries.
Eva.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Eva? Yes, Eva.
Yes. Thank you. Antonia, thank you very much for your presentation. I just would like to know a little bit more, because the majority of your presentation was about the satellites and about gathering of the data, but how works this part about the data gathered has to go into some applications that have to be integrated with, let's say, citizen infrastructure, with the information system or databases, just to have the all ecosystem. So how does this part work? How from gathering the data with your infrastructure, it transfers at the end to the better surveillance or better decision making?
Sure. So we have two kind of data capturing. One of those are from environmental sensors, but the other ones are sensors that are captured by third parties companies. So those measurements go directly to those stakeholders' servers, and they can use it for different purposes depending on what kind of sensor they implemented. What our role there is to provide them the communication system. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, Antonio. Yes,
Sorry,
Antonio.
I hear something. So
er hat mich angerufen. Weil wollte ja, dass ich diese Chatgruppe da ändere.
Sorry, there is a backroom chat from I think it's the tech team that is talking into this presentation. Okay, thanks, Antonio. Please go on.
So our role there is to provide the communication systems, in this case IoT and narrowband purpose communication systems, and our clients or the stakeholders of the city, they only use these communication systems, and then they send their data to their own cloud services for their own purposes. In the case of the environmental data that are on board of our devices, our clients or the community can use those using our API, so they can consume that data in order to improve different kind of processes. We have, for example, a tool for counting how many people is passing by through a specific location in the city, and that data is totally GDPR compliant and can be used, for example, for governments, for transportation purposes, but also for businesses in order to understand how mobility is changing, especially this time during COVID. It's a very critical variable in order to understand sales results.
Great, Antonio, thank you. So next question is from Odita.
Thank you, Antonio. Can you share some numbers or some examples of the actual use cases? So how many customers do you have who are already using it? And also you mentioned quite a lot, you have different apps, you have devices. Like, what's the size of your company that actually is building it? Because it seems that it requires a lot of very technical knowledge as well as a lot of money to actually build everything. So can you talk about that business side, like how is the business organized, and like who are your customers and how many of them do you have?
Excellent. So that's why the business model, in order to grow it, is so important, because as you mentioned, we have to do an important investment in the deployment of the urban satellites in different towns. And that's why we do it by selling services to companies that already have a huge presence in cities in terms of the amount of locations they run on cities. So for example, we are already working with important companies like Shell, like I'm trying to think in international companies, sorry, but many gas stations, companies, convenience stores, pharmacies and drugstores. At least we have 50 or 60, between 50 and 60 companies that are using our infrastructure to their own solutions. But at the same time, we have some B2C solutions like AirMob. Today has like 2,000 users here in Santiago for the air pollution communication system. CarMob has like 20,000 users in order to help them recover their stolen cars and bicycles. And we keep working on growing that ecosystem in different cities in order to be able to be present in hundreds of cities, so anyone can start deploying their solutions and sharing it to the world.
Tamam, thank you. Thank you very much, Antonio, for your questions. Thank you, Odetta, and all our juries. And if no questions, we will thank you, Antonio, and move to our next winner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. Bye-bye. So our next winner coming from South Africa, Georgia, presenting for us My4Jam. Are you ready, Georgia? M4Jam?
Yes, I'm ready. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we see it, and you can start. Okay, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Georgie Midgley, and I am the CEO of M4Jam. I would like to introduce you to Mate. Mate is a 28-year-old who lives in rural Limpopo in South Africa. She lives in a shack with limited access to water and electricity. Like 55% of South Africa's youth, she is unemployed and a single mother. Mate is actively looking for a job to feed her family, but public transport costs are high, often making job seeking unaffordable. She doesn't own a computer, but she does have a mobile phone. She has very few financial prospects available to her and is feeling a general sense of desperation. M4Jam offers impoverished communities in South Africa economic opportunities. We do this by connecting brands, government, or organizations to people and small businesses in communities via their mobile device and leveraging the gig economy. The gig economy can play a vital role in supplementing income and providing much needed temporary employment. And we have positioned ourselves to be the bridge to bridge the gap between unemployment and employment in South Africa. So how does it work? The gig workers that complete the incentivized microtasks are called jobbers. In order to register to become a jobber, you go onto our website or app and create an account. Jobbers can then view and complete microtasks that are available. These tasks could be training, surveys, data collection, merchandising, community upliftment projects, and audit, to name a few. Tasks are localized so that our jobbers can work within the communities that they live, and they do not have to travel. Within hours, the incentives are paid directly into the jobber's mobile e-wallet in the form of cash, airtime, or food hamper vouchers. So what has been our impact on the rural communities of South Africa? To date, we have 811,000 registered jobbers. This is 150% growth year on year. In 2020, 850,000 microjobs were completed, $1.5 million was paid directly to jobbers, and over 12,000 people were fed during COVID-19. However, what we are proud of is the profile of the people that we have assisted. Sorry, I'm getting some replay. Here are some stats of our jobbers from last year. 100% were previously disadvantaged individuals. 68% were unemployed. 35% had no household income. 35% had a household income of under $106 per month. 70% are under the age of 40, and 65% are female. Maite is one of the jobbers that Money4Jam assisted last year. She has earned on average $400 a month with Money4Jam, and in 2020 she managed to buy a piece of land in addition to feeding her family. M4Jam is here to make a difference in the lives of those that need it most. We are a South African born, bred and built technology solution that is crucial to the socio-economic development of South Africa, with our ultimate aim being to revolutionize lives in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia, for committing to the time and the nice presentation, and of course, a great one to helping people in different areas and linking them to the market. Our jurors, we are waiting for your questions. Yes, Odrita, please.
Hi, thank you for such a great presentation and an amazing product. I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the jobs that people are doing. You mentioned, categories of jobs, but just thinking from, from company's perspective, that part interests me.
Okay. So the key benefit for our clients is that through crowdsourcing, they can collect real-time relevant information to assist them in making data-driven decisions while empowering communities. So we currently have about 30 clients that we interact with on a monthly basis. Some are on a retainer model, some are on a once-off model, and they could be anything from mining companies. We work with telcos, government, FMCGs, and nonprofits. But it's generally anyone who wants to connect with the community to either put out tasks, and the client's benefit is the speed at which we can get it, as well as the fact that they're actually connecting to local communities and empowering the communities while doing it. Does that answer your question, Odetta? Sorry.
That gives a lot of breadth of what type of companies are doing it. I'll let Connor ask the other question.
No, I'm going to join in with you, Odetta, and ask again, can you specifically give us an example of the types of tasks that people do? For example, you mentioned mining companies. So is it like people going into mines and doing a micro task, which is a day of mining, or can you help us to understand the tasks?
Sure. So from a mining perspective, we generally do two types of tasks. One is training. So we actually train the miners on their phones because they don't have access to computers or email addresses. And we train them on their way to work, in their lunch break, and the mine can actually communicate health and safety information and all those sort of things, that task via their phone. The second thing we do is connect the mines to the community outside their mine. So actually put out tasks. So should the mine have certain, right now as an example, we're building a school. They hire the contractor. We then connect with the community in the area to say, tomorrow I need 6 bricklayers, the next day I need 5 pavers, and we actually source those skills from the local community, and they are paid on completion of that task via our app.
Thank you, Georgia, for your answers, and thank you for our juries, and wish you a good luck in your company future. Good luck, and wish you all the best.
I think there was one more question from Connor.
Oh, sorry.
You have Connor? He already did. You have one more question, Connor?
I'd love to sneak another one in. Yes, at the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned that M4Jam is the bridge between unemployment and employment. I'm sure you face a lot of criticism about the gig economy as you go out and operate in the world, as these are small jobs that is not full employment. So can you tell us a little bit about that bridge role that you say that you play? I might be paraphrasing, I apologize. How does a small micro task through your platform lead to the type of employment that is regular, is long-term, has health insurance? Tell us a little bit about that bridge role.
So South Africa is in a unique situation that we have a lot more matriculants coming out every year than the amount of formal jobs being created. And also people need that assistance between unemployment and employment. So we fill the gap when it comes to firstly upskilling them. So every single task that's completed requires you to be upskilled. So we upskill you before you go and do an audit, any of that, so that you can actually update your CV and have the experience to match it to that. Secondly, because we're a gig company, we often find most of our jobbers, either they're doing it because they want to study, so they're doing enough money to keep them in their studies or to study, or a lot of our jobbers have gone to buy a car and become an Uber driver. They just need that little leg up to get. Some have even jobbed enough just to pay for the taxi fare to get them to that job. So in South Africa, we call it a side hustle. We are a side hustle, but we do have jobbers that consistently earn, okay, I must do the conversion in my head, but about 15,000 Rand, so call it $1,000 a month, and they've done that for 2 years consistently. So we are trying to help upskill at the same time as give them that experience to try and get them into a formal job to upgrade their CVs. And where possible, we want them to almost outgrow us. That is our aim. Our aim is to try and grow you so that you start your own business or you get a formal job.
Thank you, Georgia. Any more questions? So we will move on to Karim. Karim is introducing his project about air quality management. He named it Hawadawa, which is a word Arabic. Maybe he will share with us more information about it in the next minutes. Karim, are you ready? Karim, unmute yourself, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you now. Hi, Karim.
I had a bit of a trouble unmuting myself. Thank you very much. Yes, so I'll be presenting today air quality management, which is under the name of the company Hawadawa, which means air medicine and air purity in more than 7 languages. Just to give you a bit of background about myself, I grew up in Cairo, a city that shows all the typical traits of an emerging economy when it comes to air quality and health. And I grew up in a household full of doctors that spent their lifetime researching the complex sensitivities between the air we breathe and our health. So I always understood that air quality is not just a topic of concentrations and just monitoring, but it actually affects our health and our life in general. But not only that, if we look at today, every 8th death is attributed to air pollution. Not only that, if we're talking about the climate crisis, up to 50% of the climate pollutants are also air pollutants that cause health impacts and ecological impacts. And if you look at globally, the EU, for example, loses 10% of its GDP due to air pollution, and tropospheric ozone, one of the air pollutants, also even affects plant growth and yields to global crop yield losses of up to 15%. So solving this problem requires a new way of understanding how to deal with air quality, which is managing air quality and not just monitoring it. And this is basically the whole idea of having a very serious data inadequacy when tackling air pollution that the common instruments do not solve. And with the Hawadawa, we want to integrate air quality data into the mainstream of decision making. So how do we do that? Hawadawa can provide you air quality and emissions information on a global scale, down to the road, and even tell you this in the context of weather and health. But let me show you how a customer, for example, works. This is the City of Minds. This is the gray pins are just the monitoring that the city does. And this, with our technology that is adaptable in more than 30 cities, this is how it looks like with Hawadawa. We're able to completely cover the city with satellite data, public data, our own sensor data, third-party data, traffic information, weather information. So you'll be able to tell you how is traffic and air quality interlinked, create forecasts and do eco-sensitive traffic management, which is a huge emerging new market. We can tell you where the air pollution is coming from, so tell you how to best assess your action plans and identify the quick wins, and even interpret the data from a health perspective and telling you where the air pollution is in your schools and how many asthmatics. And we could do this on a global scale using the most cutting-edge set of technology. We're a team of entrepreneurs from 11 countries, with half of the management team females. We are we have people from eco-climatology, scientific backgrounds, big data scientists. I myself worked for the United Nations Environment for several years on climate change mitigation. Yvonne Rusha, my co-founder, is from Bolivia, and she worked several years in climate change adaptation. We have data scientists and as well as traffic engineering experts, a very diverse team. And we were named last year the Digital Startup of the Year 2020 by the German government. And shows that the timing and traction and technology are right in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karim, for the interesting presentation, and wish you the good luck. Our juries, we will start with Connor now. Listen to you, Connor.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. It was a presentation full of what you do or what the platform does. I didn't hear much about how it's used. So can you tell us what is the use of this platform by, for example, government institutions? This is all getting at the social impact question. How does the use of this platform look like, and how does it lead to an improvement in the things that you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation?
Sure. So we have 3 product groups, which is the Sentience is the first one. It's the hardware device that I showed you. Then there is the dashboard, the software as a service. This is what you see right here. And there are APIs, so you get everything we do also directly integrated in your software. So for example, if you have a traffic management computer within your city and want to avoid driving bans because you're above the threshold all the time, we can provide you with air quality data that help you reduce and actually improve air quality. And we've managed to show that in some of our cities, we've been able to reduce the air pollution by several micrograms of NO2, for example, and a yearly average compared to what it was before. And in one example, in Munich, we did a project with the city and Siemens, where we provided 24-hour forecasts, and we provided an alternative route to going to work for more than 1,500 commuters, and more than 40% of the commuters repeatedly used the forecasted route, which led to less emissions by just knowing, how to avoid the creation of hotspots. So because we measure and because we help them manage the problem, just by making it transparent, this is how you create impact. And because it affects also food security, health, and climate change topics, with one focus, with one tool, you're able to address several SDGs at the same time. Yeah, I hope this answered the question.
Thank you, Karim. We have another question from Gabriel. Gabriel, please.
Hello, Karim.
Hi.
I would like to ask you. About your supply chain. How do you manufacture all this? Yeah. This is the first question. The second question is about your go-to-market strategy.
Sure.
How do you sell?
So
how do you sell?
So regarding the value chain, so everything we do, or the majority of our components are in Germany, so we don't have to travel far away. And we actually we have our own lab downstairs where I'm sitting right now, where we put these devices together. And the devices have an active air ventilation. They're very integratable in public infrastructure. We even covered cities using advertising boards. So even telling the city you can get the data from today. So this is also answers a bit the question on the go-to-market. So a lot of actually what's happening right now is inbound sales. So a lot of the cities, every tender we see is about eco-sensitive traffic management. So it's about how can I add intelligent traffic systems with an environmental component on top of it. So they ask us for our air quality data API, which is, as I showed, can be globally accessed. And the second is also a bit of proactiveness. So our sensor is very easy integratable in light poles and even postal boxes. So we proactively deploy them and tell the city from now you can actually access the sensors. And then we have a very big partner program. So several cities in Germany, Essen and Bochum and Bottrop, we access through partners in the advertising board business, in the light pole manufacturing business, and even with several. And additionally, we integrate satellite data and vehicle data, so we're able to provide coverage in areas we don't, totally different also geographic. So I can provide you with the same insights in Dubai as well as in Los Angeles. It won't matter for us. So go-to-market is basically a mixture between lock-in with hardware and coverage with software.
Are you planning to have...
Yes, Gabi?
I missed the last part.
Are you planning to have resellers in other parts of the world?
Yes. So we have actually we're signing our first in the Middle East and North Africa, signing our first partnership deal. Of course, next to partners like Microsoft and so forth, where we have already deals in place, so global ones. But of course, I mean, I liked very much the Citysense presentation. This would be a very good partner where we say, like the devices we constructed are CE tested and actually in accordance to the law in the EU, according to data accuracy. So we're very happy to kind of provide, access to the technology and able to provide local, corporations and focus, because a jack of all trades is a master of none, but still better than one. So basically, it's about focusing in one area, but be able to cover a lot of things in one area. So yes, long story short, of course, we would be. We don't think we were going to be the ones doing everything, but we rely heavily also on partner networks.
Great.
Thank you.
Rita?
Just really quickly, you actually mentioned so many famous names that everybody knows, but I think that what we all are trying to get to understand is like who are already using your your platform, your sensors, like who are your customers, how many are there, and how many cities you are there, like just like numbers. We heard sure. Samsung, Microsoft, but just like, yeah.
No, I didn't name drop them. Like it's basically, providing, positioning your what you're offering in their portfolio. But to give you concrete examples of projects. So we have about 30 projects so far. I'll name two as a concrete example. What I showed you here is the city of Mainz that had over 3 years was above the threshold legally what NO2 when it comes to NO2. So what we did is we deployed the sensors across the critical area together with traffic information and weather, and informed them how everything is interlinked, traffic, climate, and air quality, and provided recommendations. And the next step is now they're installing intelligent lighting systems, so to adapt the traffic in accordance to what our data and our strategy recommendation tells you regarding the climate and air quality. Another project, this was done in the city of Ulm, where they asked us where is the air pollution coming from. So we told them, created this mapping. We could do it for every point across the globe. We can tell you where is the air pollution coming from. So if you have a clean air action plan in cities, and usually it's either the digital guys or the environmental guys in cities, we tell you where is the lowest hanging fruits. And to give you a third example, this is from the city of Belfast, where together with the Ministry of Health and Economic Development, we created this health risk mapping, where we provided a tool telling them in postal codes how much asthmatics and COPD are they exposed for air pollution. And Siemens wasn't just name dropping, we also did a project with them. We have a joint product which is called SLIM, it's in German, saubere Luft basically, which is basically integrating air quality forecasts in individual routing applications. And to give you maybe the most up-to-date project is about doing heat island mapping in combination with air quality mapping for a mid-sized city here in Germany, because they found out that there are more cardiovascular deaths within the inner city due to heat in summer than anywhere else. So they want to understand where are the heat islands, how do they develop, and because heat islands and emissions correlate, it's of course important to know to map both at the same time using our sensors, but as well as thermal sensors.
Thank you. Sorry to stop you, but we have time limits. But yeah, really, it's interesting, and wish you all the best. So the next project in our category, Smart Settlement and Urbanization, is coming from Austria with Stephanie. We will know more about Fluidtime. Stephanie, hi.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
We have technical problems, but I hope that you will see my presentation soon, and I will start as soon as I will see my screen.
Okay, so we have the screen, so can start. Good luck.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Stephanie, and what you see right now is me in summer 2017 on my last ride with my beloved car, my hometown cars. I decided to sell my car, and you want to know why? Because a typical car is only on the move for 6 hours per week, and in these 6 hours you don't actually drive because you're looking for a parking slot or you're waiting in the traffic jams. Because the car is no longer fitting to our people's work and lifestyle, because we are more flexible, we want to move even faster, and we don't want to get stuck with a private car. And as well, the cities and regions are growing even faster, and so the CO2 levels and all the environmental problems that we are having. My company, Fluidtime, is a B2B company that gives city dwellers new ways to travel and make cities more sustainable. For this reason, we developed a SaaS mobility app and data platform called Fluidtime to create access to reliable CO2-friendly mobility alternatives like car sharing, bike sharing, or public transport, and with a data platform to provide insights on mobility habits for data-driven incentives for companies, as well as for cities and regions to make infrastructure investments to improve public transport and to introduce new inclusive services. The main functions of this white label app is an intermodal route planner based on real-time information. You can see route results sorted by duration, CO2 emissions, or kilocalories for active mobility. You can search, book, and pay all the services within your app, and you can even start your car rental with just one click. Our solution is scalable from a neighborhood to a country level, and it will enable you to provide accessible, inclusive transport for all. Our solution is the key to any mobility challenges as we work together with companies as well as cities. So we need mobility budget for employees. We provide CO2 points for using active mobility. You can use free public transport rides as an incentive, and as well you can use the data platform to make analysis and reports to change mobility habits for all. And yes, in the last 17 years, we developed from a startup to a service provider with our first successes in Austria already in 2009 with the still #1 route planner that exists in Austria. From 2017 to 20, we focused more on Scandinavia, for example, with one solution in Stockholm and one in Aarhus. And now we are working together in Austria with Upper Austria with a solution that will be launched in April for the commuters, for example. As well, we have a public transport app in Vienna and one in Rotterdam and Hague. So, and with all this mobility projects and even more in the upcoming months, we want to make cities more sustainable. Thank you.
Stephanie,
I'm ready.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. I think it was clear the idea of the time, and let's see what our juries will share with their questions. Yes. So, Connor,
Yes, I hope you can hear me okay. I'm lagging a bit on my side. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to ask an impact measurement this question this time, asking about user adoption. I think it's smart that you went a B2B or a B2G route to get people to adopt the tool, because enterprises are more likely to use route planning than people are to give up Google Maps and Apple Maps, right? So talking about the scalability, do you see the enterprise context as really the only context that people will adopt this? And how do you see competition from, let's say, Google and Apple? Because they could implement a tool like this and move you out of the market quite quickly, couldn't they?
They could, and that's what we are in this market are discussing right now. So to answer your first questions for user adoption, that's what we try to do with the incentives. So it's not just incentives that we provide within the apps, like you can collect mobility points, you can redeem them for active mobility, or a mobility budget that employer can provide to its employees so that they use active mobility by themselves. But as I always see that there is a need to have accompanying measures so that people get motivated to change their habits. So it's not enough to provide just the technical solutions. To need to persuade them, you need to know about the travel chains, the travel habits, and especially when I think about caretakers or mothers, parents, for example, Google won't be enough because Google shows you just the route mostly by car, so the really fastest way. But you cannot put inside, okay, I'm traveling really slowly because I'm accompanied by children, or I need to go to the grocery store and then I need to go to the school and I don't want to go on really dark streets. So with our solution, we are able to find new functions to foster even more and better, safer mobility for all. That's what Google won't make in the next year, because Google will just provide information and okay, they can do mobility, but they do it just in a basic level.
Great. Any other questions from our juries? So, Odetta again, please.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I was just wondering, you showed the timeline of the different products. So are you using the same kind of data collection and backend infrastructure to then launch different products in different markets or cities? How does that part work a little bit?
Okay, thank you for this question. So it's, as I said, we provide a SaaS solution, so with a white label platform that we can adapt to every company, to every public authority. Because, of course, we have one solution that you can just download in the app stores, but then you cannot adjust it to your specific needs. But for example, if you have a city that doesn't need bike share because they don't have it, then it's useless to have it in our app. So we have like a tool that you can fill in with all the functions that you want to use, but you can enable and disable all the functions according to your requirements. So we start with a basic map, a basic app, and with route planning and ticketing, for example. and we can always scale up to a different level with the solution. And so that's why in all this project that I've shown you, we don't have the exact same app, but the core is the same. As well, it's for that data platform in the backend.
Thank you.
We have one more question from Liva.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And one more question. What is your growth perspective? Where do you see you in, let's say, 3 years' time?
My company's role, you mean?
Yes,
or my personal
the products that you are presenting for WSA.
So, as a company, Fluidtime will focus now even more on companies, as in the last, let's say, 5 years, we had a lot of tenders and cooperations with cities and public authorities, and there we started pilot projects. But the problem with pilot projects is after 2 to 4 years, they will launch a solution and then they will shut it down because it's not a pilot project anymore. And we see with companies, there is an even bigger pace. So they want to change something because they see high CO2 levels, they get CO2 fees in their countries, and they see all the employees traveling by private car to the company, and they don't have the money to for all this parking infrastructure, for example. So we want to focus more on companies, as we see that they have the greater impact even more, because if you decide to travel without car to your company, then you will adapt your private life as well, because then you don't have a car, so you see, okay, what can I use today? Maybe I use bike sharing, or we go with public transport. So you have already this different mindset when you decide not to take your car in the morning.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. So by listening to Fluidtime, we finished the 5 projects for our country group, the smart settlement and urbanization. And I would like to thank our juries for all their fruitful questions for all the projects.